Another landmark place to visit here in Glasgow is called the Burrell collection.
Nestled in a tranquil Pollock Country Park on the outskirts of Glasgow lies the Burrell collection, a treasure trove of art and history. This museum, one of the jewels of Scotland, is a gift from Sir William Burrell, a wealthy ship owner and passionate art collector who dedicated his life's work to preserving beauty and culture. The building itself is a work of art, designed to blend the old and new. Its open spaces and natural light create the perfect environment to admire the collection. Inside, I was greeted by an extraordinary range of artifacts, everything from ancient Egyptian relics to medieval European tapestries. The diversity of the collection left me in awe. Each piece tells a story, a snapshot of human creativity across centuries and continents. As I moved from one gallery to another, I felt as though I was traveling through time, witnessing the evolution of artistry and craftsmanship. What struck me most was how accessible and inviting the Burrell collection is. It's not just a museum, it's a space for reflection and inspiration. Whether you're an art enthusiast or just curious, there's something here for everyone to enjoy. One of the highlights of my visit was the Roman regalia and costume. Seeing these ancient garments and accessories up close was like stepping into the world of Roman emperors and soldiers. Among the treasures, I was struck by the looted artifacts from Africa, particularly the Asante gold from Ghana. These breathtaking pieces, once symbols of power and wealth in the Ashanti kingdom, carry a deeper story, a story of colonial exploitation and the resilience of African heritage. The Egyptian treasures on display were both captivating and unsettling. From intricately designed amulets to vividly painted sarcophagi, these artifacts reflect the splendor of an ancient civilization. Yet, their presence here also tells the story of how Egypt's cultural heritage was stripped away and scattered across the world. As I stood before these artifacts, I couldn't help but think of the need to honor their origins and the cultures they represent. These treasures belong not just to the past but to the people whose histories they embody. My journey through the Burrell collection continued as I delved into the lifestyles of ancient rulers of Europe and Great Britain. The grandeur of their artifacts spoke volumes about their power, influence, and the opulence that defined their reigns.
That is this, is it?
The Burrell collection also houses an extraordinary array of religious relics, each one steeped in spiritual and historical significance. These relics, from gilded crosses to ancient manuscripts, offer a glimpse into the profound role religion played in shaping societies and cultures across centuries. As I explored further, I encountered a king's bed, a symbol of both luxury and authority. Its ornate carvings and lavish design spoke of a life of grandeur, where even rest was marked by opulence and status. Nearby, the tomb of a ruler stood as a solemn reminder of life's fleeting nature, even for those who wielded immense power. The engravings and motifs etched into the stone told tales of their reign, their beliefs, and the legacy they sought to leave behind. Among the treasures, the Lamentation sculpture stood out as a powerful representation of sorrow and compassion. It captures the moment Christ is taken down from the cross, surrounded by figures overwhelmed with grief. Before leaving the museum, I took a moment to visit the Highland cattle, a rare and iconic species native to Scotland. With their majestic horns and thick, shaggy coats, these animals are a symbol of Scotland's rugged beauty and heritage. Seeing them up close was a reminder of the deep connection between Scotland's culture and its natural environment. Their resilience in harsh conditions mirrors the enduring spirit of this land. With this serene image in mind, I left the museum, ready to continue my journey to the car museum, carrying with me the rich impressions of Scotland's history, art, and nature.
Is it all about cars or sheep?
My next stop was the Riverside Museum, where the history of transportation came to life. The collection of cars showcased the evolution of design, innovation, and technology over the decades. The journey began with steam-powered vehicles, heavy, clunky, and marvels of their time. These were the first steps toward a revolution in transportation. Then came the iconic vintage cars like the Model T, bringing mobility to the masses. Luxury cars from the 1930s showcased the artistry and elegance of an era driven by innovation. From the earliest steam-powered models to the elegant classics of the mid-20th century, each car represented a milestone in human ingenuity. It was fascinating to see how the automobile transformed from a luxury item to an essential part of everyday life. One vehicle that caught my eye was the 1968 Renault. Its modest yet stylish design symbolized the rise of affordable cars during the 1960s, when simplicity and practicality became the focus for families across Europe. The post-war era brought bold designs and a sense of optimism, with cars becoming symbols of freedom and individuality. As the decades progressed, cars became faster, more efficient, and more accessible. Innovations in safety and technology defined the modern automotive era. These vehicles embodied a time when cars were built to meet the needs of everyday people, functional, reliable, and efficient. It was a car for the people, representing a shift in the automotive industry toward accessibility and affordability. This journey through the history of cars reminded me of how transportation has shaped our world, not just as a means of travel, but as a reflection of culture, ambition, and progress. The early decades, cars were more than just a mode of transport. They were a means of support to the community. They enabled families to travel for work, connect with distant relatives, and access resources that were previously out of reach. But today, the automobile has transformed into a symbol of opulence and status. The latest models are often more about prestige and personal indulgence than about community or practical necessity. It's fascinating to see how the car's role has shifted from a humble tool for everyday life to a symbol of wealth and excess. This evolution mirrors wider societal changes where comfort and status often take precedence over function. Before I conclude my visit, I'll take a moment to travel back in time to relive what it must have been like to live in those early decades when the car was still a new lifeline, offering freedom and opportunity to the many, not just the few. In the early 20th century, the automobile was a beacon of progress, connecting communities and breaking down barriers. It's easy to romanticize those days when the open road held promise, not just for personal luxury, but for collective opportunity. As I live this incredible journey through time, I carry with me the stories of those who built, traveled, and lived in these early moments of automotive history. My next discovery takes me even further back in time, into the world of 18th century ship voyages. Imagine the vastness of the oceans, the long stretches of endless water, and the uncertainty that came with each journey across the seas. During the 18th century, voyages were perilous, driven by the promise of trade, exploration, and sometimes even forced migration. The courage of those who sailed these ships paved the way for global connections that still shape our world today. Now, I'll take a step back in time to experience firsthand what it was like to sail across the seas, and perhaps gain a deeper understanding of the bravery and hardships that defined those early maritime journeys. As I step onto this 18th century ship, I can almost feel the weight of history beneath my feet. This was a time when every voyage was fraught with uncertainty. The ocean, vast and unpredictable, was both a source of trade and a perilous route for discovery. Maritime life in the 18th century was harsh and unforgiving. The sailors who embarked on these ships faced not only the dangers of the sea, storms, hunger, and disease, but also the challenge of navigating the uncharted waters of far-off lands. Yet, these voyages were essential for trade, exploration, and the expansion of empires. Without the technology we take for granted today, sailors relied on the stars, the wind, and their knowledge of the sea to guide them. Each voyage was a testament to their resilience, resourcefulness, and the sense of adventure that drove them to explore the unknown. Life aboard these ships was anything but comfortable. The lower decks were overcrowded, dark, and musty. Sailors slept in hammocks, their bodies swaying with the motion of the ship, never knowing when they'd see land again. Yet, despite the hardships, these early maritime explorers were driven by the hope of discovering new trade routes, bringing exotic goods and forging new alliances. For many, it was about survival, but for some, it was the promise of fortune. As I stand here aboard this 18th century vessel, I can almost hear the voices of the men who once sailed these treacherous waters, knowing they were part of something far greater than themselves, shaping the future of trade, exploration, and the very world we know today. It's on this type of ship that my great-great-great-grandfathers were taken from Africa, forced into the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade. They sailed across these very waters, ripped from their homes, their families, and their culture. The journey was one of unimaginable suffering. Cramped quarters, starvation, disease, and abuse marked the path for millions of Africans who were taken to the New World. And yet, despite this, my ancestors endured. The resilience of my heritage is woven into the very fabric of this history. Though they were taken, my ancestors survived, and the stories live on through me. They were not just victims of an oppressive system, they were survivors, resilient in the face of unimaginable adversity. This moment, this journey, is not just a historical lesson, it's a personal connection to the past, a reminder of how far we've come and how deeply rooted our strength and resilience are.
Where they used to sleep, they are carving it.